So I was going to maybe suggest you ask me how I'm feeling about things.
I can definitely ask you that. That's one of the questions I had.
And then the second question I'd like to cover before we get into more stuff is that I had mentioned to you earlier my appreciation for the fire department. Remember I told you that?
Yes.
And you might say, well, when we met that night, you were complimenting the fire department. What you're feeling about them? I'd like to say something about them, and then you can ask away.
Okay. I can do that. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Flanagan, for the record, can you please spell and state your first and last name for me?
Thomas Flanagan.
Thomas.
Thomasflanagan.
You're the owner of the Gilbert Building. Would you call yourself an investor in downtown Beaumont or an investor overall?
Are we doing questions now?
Well, I just want to identify you when I say Tom Flanagan. He's the owner of the Gilbert Building, but also an investor. Would you call yourself an investor?
I'm not just an investor, but we actually transform vacant buildings and bring them back to life. So in that respect, I guess I would be a developer.
Ah, developer. Yes, sir. Okay.
Or a redeveloper.
A redeveloper.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Mr. Flanagan, you know, and we're nearing almost a week since the fire at your Gilbert Building. How are you feeling right now?
It's been an emotional roller coaster from standing in front of the building and not able to do anything was devastating, and going through that process and then being kind of a victim of mob mentality, being accused of causing it or having something to do with it.
Mr. Flanagan, let me move up your microphone just a little bit. I'm sorry. Over here. Just want to make sure. Do you mind if I button up this little button here?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Let me do it.
Oh, I got it. I want this guy to be. Okay, that's. Actually, I want it right there. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Make sure we heard you. You don't have to repeat your first and last name for me. Again, in the almost a week since your building caught on fire, how are you feeling right now?
It's been an emotional roller coaster to see something that I valued. Maybe others didn't value it, but I valued the historic beauty of it, and I was committed to, and am committed to renovating it and bringing it back to life, to seeing it near destroyed and being helpless, and then being kind of a victim of mob mentality on the internet, that somehow I had something to do with it or created a condition for it to happen, which is totally untrue. But in the since days, the building survived, it structurally survived, and I've been getting all kind of calls from close friends and people that I don't even know, offering prayers and uplifting, and it's been a wonderful blessing, and so I'm feeling a lot better.
You said that you'd like to thank the fire department for their tireless hours they spent out there putting out the fire, right?
So, yeah, I'm a father of 2 boys, and I take an interest in young men, and even though it was dire circumstances, just to see the bravery, the courage, of the professionalism of our firefighters, it just was so inspiring. And they actually even entered the building with 0 visibility, and just to sit back and watch them is so inspiring. And I want to, in this interview, make sure that I don't forget to say thank you to them, and how well they represent the city of Beaumont. And our community and their families can be really proud of them, because I am.
I love that, Mr. Flanagan. Now I want to get into the kind of the question portion of our interview here. I want you to, if you would, take a look at something that I was given from Mike Getz that he received from Chris Boone, one of the assistant city managers. And this just shows, I'll have you look at that. You can make it bigger however you want. So this was taken back in March of this year. Just some of the codes from the outside, the violations that the city says that the Gilbert Building was under. What do you have to say when you see this?
Okay. First of all, I'd like people to know that the city was the previous owner of the building. And since we bought it from the city, they took away the downtown police protection. And since that time, the city is becoming infested with vagrants, with thieves, with people who break in and steal copper. Not just in our building, we just have a portion of the buildings downtown. We met with the city recently, and they told us they were good with what we've done. The only thing we haven't been able to do is keep the vagrants from breaking into the building. But Councilman Getz is off track and making uneducated statements and with ill intent, and he's completely wrong. The fact is that the fire department, the young men that were there first, all told me that this was a case of intended break-in and setting of fires. And we believe, based on our own investigation, this is a case of arson. It's our second major fire downtown, not our first. No one was even interested in the building 2 blocks away. And for Councilman Guest to say that, he's just flat wrong.
Mr. Flanagan, when they say, when did you purchase, how long have you had the building?
I think we bought it in, I don't remember the exact year, 2014 or 15.
Okay, so you were obviously aware of the conditions, and you were aware that it was in some code violations.
I was not aware that the city would no longer provide police protection downtown, and that we'd be subject to repeated violent break-ins. Okay? So that's what created this fire, not the fact that there was a mouse. Okay? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. People pulled the plywood that we had put up repeatedly to keep them out, went inside and set it on fire. Okay?
Yes,
Councilman Getz is out of his mind and should resign from the city council.
yes, sir. And when you say that the vagrants did this, have you ever been cited or fined for code violations on the Gilbert Building?
I think that the code violations we have are all as a result of these repeated break-ins. I met a young person downtown yesterday who said that she had broken in with her boyfriend, but they couldn't break in anymore because they were afraid that homeless people would chase them with a knife. Okay? So any code violations that we would have were because we can't get police down here to keep people out of the buildings.
So you have had code violations on the Gilbert Building before?
I don't know. I don't know that.
How would you not know you're the owner? All respect, due respect, when I ask you that.
I know sometimes they allege violations that we don't always agree. You'd have to show me the exact citation that you're looking at.
Gotcha. Well, so when I show you this document that the city has from the outside that they took, their inspectors, that shows everything they felt like was wrong, doors, windows, on your building.
So you want me to read this online right
You
now?
don't have to read it. I want you.
That's what you want to do. You want me to read this online? Okay. And you think that there's a mouse or something like that, this code violation caused someone to break into the building and burn it down? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir.
Okay, because if you are, it doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make sense. You're right.
Right. So you want me to comment on this, having not seen it before this interview?
Well, I just wanted to show it to you to say, this is what the city's saying about your building. You know, you are the owner. You can stand up and represent this. What do you have to say when they say, this is what's wrong with your building?
Okay. I don't know the date of this. I don't
So-
recall that, but I do believe the building was structurally safe, structurally sound. I think that's incorrect. If there was a mouse in there, I don't know. If there was an ant in there, I don't know about an insect. The windows and doors have been repeatedly broken by vagrants, by homeless invasion. If they're talking about that, they may have a point there. But doesn't the city have a responsibility to stop that? If you have a house and somebody pries open your door and breaks in, are you cited for having your door open? And then they do it again, are you cited for that? Is that what you're saying? Or if they break through your window and you board it up, or you replace it and they break it again? We have windows broken downtown almost every day. Almost every day. So if that's a code violation, call me guilty. Okay?
Thank you for saying that. When people break your windows on your buildings or pry your doors open, I mean, to me it seems like almost impossible to to keep up with it if it's happening on a daily basis. I mean,
We're sitting on the top floor of the San Jacinto building, okay? On the night of the fire, okay, which there were two fires, okay? As you know, the Hinchy house was also set on fire. Nobody wants to talk about that. 2 plate glass windows, when I take you downstairs after this, were broken in this building at the same time as the fire. The police were too busy to follow up with that police report, okay? If you want to turn around and look out of this building, I can show you 20 broken windows by vagrants in our buildings, okay? So if you're saying that Mike Getz said that the fact that the city won't keep people out of our buildings means that I caused this crime, this horrible tragedy, I don't know where you're going with that. That makes no sense. And I know you're kind of repeating what people are saying,
sure.
but people need to wake up.
Mr. Flanagan, the city is saying you are in violation of all these codes on your Gilbert Building with the fire. You know, what are you planning to do?
Well, actually, maybe, I don't know that Mike Getz is the city. But the people we're talking with the city don't say the same thing. We just walked it with them a couple of weeks before this, okay? They didn't say all these things, that a mouse or a rat or an ant or a loose screw had anything to do with a structural defect, okay? None of that has anything to do with the repeated crime down, other than it's a result of the repeated crime downtown.
So from your understanding, a couple weeks ago, walking through with city contractors or city inspectors, you thought that you were in the clear. Your building
Not necessarily in the clear. What we asked them to do, what we said is, we'll do whatever you want. Just give us police protection. Give us one cop, okay? So that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, okay? So what I mean by that, all right? The city has roughly a, $50 million police budget, and they took away our downtown cop, okay? So they break into our buildings. And what does the city do? They blame us and the other property owners? I mean, do you really believe that? Are you asking me that question, or are you repeating what people are saying?
I'm doing both.
Okay, because if you really believe that, you're delusional, okay? The fact that our buildings are broken into and we caused that, okay? Okay, that's the question this I guess the community needs to answer, all right? So if you're comfortable somewhere in the West End and you think you're comfortable, guess what? It's coming to you too. There's more crime out there than there is here, okay? But people who office every day down here understand exactly what I'm talking about.
So you are blaming the fire, the break-ins on vagrants, on homeless people, not the fact that...
I'm blaming it on 3 groups of people, okay? We have the young punks that hang out at the skateboard park. Why do we have a skateboard park open 24 hours a day? okay? 35-year-old skateboarders with no jobs, high on crack and marijuana, wandering downtown. Tell me how that ends well with no police. Tell me, how does that end well, okay? Then you have the professional thieves. All right, we just looked at the Hotel Beaumont, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's nothing left of any value. Professional thieves have gone and taken it all, okay? That's the second group. And the third group is we have a major invasion of homelessness, and the city is not courageous enough to deal with it.
Have you been cited or fined for code violations in any of your other 4 vacant buildings?
I'm sure we have, for the same reasons. For the same. We have been, let me put it this way, I've cited them for violations. I have met with every city council member, every key staff member, every civic leader that I could speak to about this issue. It's shocking how this community's turning a blind eye toward downtown and the crime here, right? It's shocking, and we need to do a reevaluation of that.
What do you plan to do once the Gilbert Building is back, because right now, is it secure right now? How do you plan to make it back secure and all your other buildings secure where people won't do another, God forbid, cause another fire?
No person can take care of the problem here until the city steps up and does its job. Okay, we do our best every day. We work really hard. I've restored 14 buildings that the city wanted to tear down that are beautiful landmarks. We preserved them. Okay, I own 4 other buildings that we bought that were vacant. There's this perception that we own most of downtown. We don't, or that we own all the vacant buildings. There are 32 to 35 vacant buildings downtown. We own 4 of them. The question that the community should be asking of ourselves is, why is there so much blight downtown? Why isn't it a healthy environment? Okay? Is it Tom Flanagan's fault, as Mike Getz says? Okay? Or is it that downtown is a high crime, high tax, low vision place with a perception of no good future? That's the question we need to be asking, and we need to change it. And as you know, while City Hall's been fighting me, for years I've been trying to help them understand that we need to have a vision. We need to have a plan forward for our city. Our city's declining in many ways. Our school district is failing. Our crime is, we're a top 10 city in the United States. Okay, nobody talks about failing schools, our kids that can't read and write, that we send out on the street, and they don't talk about the crime. So let's talk about it. Now they're torching our buildings, we should talk about it.
Mr. Flanagan, in your opinion, what is the city fighting you on?
The city has failed to provide any vision for itself. It's not just the city. Taking Southeast Texas as a whole, and understand I live here. I've probably done more for downtown than anybody else has. It's taken a lot of time and money and love, okay? So if I'm upset, it's because I think we're going in the wrong direction, okay? And I'm not worried about being picked on. I'm used to that all my life. But I'm getting older now, and the city is going in the wrong direction, and I just see the enormous potential right in front of us, clear as a bell. And so Southeast Texas has never had a leader of any kind that's ever put forth a strategic plan or a vision statement. And we wonder why we're the only corner of Texas that hasn't grown. In my lifetime, population has tripled in Texas, not in Southeast Texas. We have not grown. We should expect from ourselves, from our leaders, to have a vision. So, which is why when we sold the AT&T building to the city, and they wanted to take it from us, and they threatened us in every way possible, we sold it. We required them to build a riverfront park there. We required them to form a downtown planning committee. And the result of that planning committee is a bold vision that would transform numerous blocks of empty downtown and turn maybe the ugliest part of town into the most beautiful and attract hundreds of thousands of people. And maybe, quite possibly, change the image of ourselves forever. Maybe help us keep our young people from leaving, recruit new businesses, and grow our population. And maybe be the beginning of a turnaround. So those requirements were put forth by us, not by the city, in the purchase and sale of the AT&T building. And we had one other requirement, that the city get serious about crime prevention downtown. They failed on that.
So that was a part of your stipulation?
Yes, and I'll be glad to show it to you, okay? They're in violation of that, and they may have liability for it. We're researching that.
Okay. You know, we talked about, so I want to make sure I have my facts clear. 17 of 14 buildings you own.
I think it's 18.
So 18.
I think so.
4 of them sit vacant right now.
Yes.
Okay.
But I have to say this because of all the foolish statements that are made out there, okay? We bought the Gilbert Building vacant from the city of Beaumont. The city of Beaumont did nothing with it. I wonder what the code violations were when the city owned it. They weren't spending a penny and weren't wanting to put a penny into it. Okay? So the buildings that we have were vacant when we bought them for decades. In some cases, 50 years. When I renovated Crockett Street, it had been boarded up since 1962. 1962. The city was ready to tear it down. So this is not the first time I've gone the opposite direction from the city. Okay? Crockett Street brought new life, national attention to downtown. But as I said all along, Crockett Street alone, one group of men, one project is not going to save downtown Beaumont. It has to be a total effort from our community, our city, our county, our chamber, our business leaders, our civic leaders. So what I'm putting forth today, because I think this needs to be a turning point, okay?
Sure.
So the city can either sit back and continue to blame the people who invest in downtown on the problem, and let's keep letting the criminals run free. Okay, let's just keep doing that, or we can get serious about not just working with investors, but helping them. Okay? Creating, not disincentivizing them with requirements and laws and mandates from on high, but maybe giving them some incentives. Okay? And maybe these 30 some odd buildings that are empty would be renovated. And maybe we would have prosperity here. And along with that, if we develop a vision and we really want to make something spectacular with our city, and I think that we have one of the most unique histories in the state. I think we can create one of the most unique places, sense of place, something really unique in the United States of America. I think we can do that here, but we have to quit fighting and we have to start working together.
Mr. Flanagan, out of the 18 buildings that you have, I just want to kind of keep you wide because you keep kind of moving. Out of the 18 buildings that you have, I'm sorry.
You know, you're doing a little bit of a hit, trying to do a hit piece on me with that propaganda.
No.
I'm not liking it.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But,
No, you're asking stupid questions.
well, let me ask you this. Out of the 18 properties you say you have, 4 of them sit vacant. I want to know, what great work have you done with the others to turn them around? You talked to me about the gym. Can you talk to me about the renovations you have made?
Of the 14 or so that we've renovated, most of them would not even be standing today. without us. The Stedman Building got the top historical renovation award from the state of Texas. It led to the Hagel Cigar Factory being renovated. All of that was totally vacant since the 1950s. Okay? It led to the inspiration for two other law firms to renovate the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe depots. Shout out to Mr. Riode and Griffin Mosley Law Firm. Okay? And a couple of decades later, the old machine shop area became a children's museum and a playground, and now there's a lake and an event center. Can I say ripple effect? Can I say ripple effect?
Yeah,
Ripple effect, okay?
Yeah.
So you ask what we've done just in that corner of downtown. And I want to thank Walter Humphrey's family because they partnered with us on that. Okay, it's not just me. Okay, people I've worked with. I've been fortunate to work with some remarkable people. And so, you know, I'm not seeking accolades, but I get quiet accolades when I see children in that parking lot and I remember what it was, and I see these buildings back to life, and I remember what they were. So that's, I could go on numerous things. We built a beautiful fountain courtyard downtown. That's a gathering place. We built a gym for professional people. We've built beautiful offices that would stand up against anything you see, and we've recruited dozens, if not hundreds, of businesses to locate downtown. So we've added to and built on what we believe is the business hub of Southeast Texas. Do we think that's important?
Oh, it is. It's very important. And so your fourth building...
But it's upsetting when they have to see people using the bathroom in their parking lots, or reaching in their pants and doing lewd things when they're walking to church. Okay, or they're sitting in their office on the first floor and someone shoots out their window. Okay? Do you think a mouse or a rat or an ant had anything to do with that, according to Mike Getz? Do you? Really?
No, that sounds ridiculous.
Okay?
Yes. But, you know, you keep talking about the rodent problem.
I don't keep talking about the rodent problem.
Well, you said a mouse and an ant, which is on here.
No, they're talking about that, okay? We have a different kind of rodent problem. We have a rodent mentality in our certain city council members. We need to think like human beings. You don't, in this country, you don't blame the victim. Okay?
Yeah.
You help the victim.
You know, they're talking about the windows and the doors being open, and they're saying...
I'm talking about windows and doors being broken daily, okay? Being shot out. We found bullet casings near a window on the first floor of Century Tower, okay? Where are the police? Now, which mouse do you want to talk about now? We've talked about the mouse 3 or 4 times.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So why don't you and Mike Getz talk about the mouse. Let's talk about the crime. Okay?
That's
You can interview Mike Getz. He knows all about rats. Okay?
Yeah.
In fact, he's the one that said that Crockett Street would never come back because there's rats. Do you remember that article?
No.
Famous Mike Getz article.
Oh, my God.
Okay?
What? Just exterminate. That doesn't make any sense. Don't get rid of the buildings.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
there were no... You've been to Riverside Grill?
Yes.
Okay, go find a rat. Go find a rat.
I probably wouldn't find
Okay,
one.
you want to spend this interview talking about that?
No. I want to talk about your business more, and I know you have to go. I have a few more questions for you, Mr. John. The 4 buildings that sit vacant. You told me about some of the plans in there. Can you tell me what you want to do with the rest of those buildings, the 4? We know about
Well,
the Gilbert Building.
as you know, Ebony,
Yes.
I showed you, okay, renderings to convert the beautiful Gilbert Building into upscale apartments, and next to it, the McFadden Building. And I showed you images of the First National Bank. And I showed you my vision to narrow the street and widen the sidewalks with brick and line them with trees and make it a walkable, livable neighborhood. All right? I talked to you about that. I described it and I showed it to you. And the night the building was on fire, I even showed you a 1913 picture of the Gilbert Building, which is what I want to recreate and make it look like that. It's very similar to the Cartier Building in New York. If you've ever seen the Cartier Building, it was the Vanderbilt mansion that Cartier bought, and it's their flagship headquarters. If you Google Cartier Building, that's, in fact, if you have a minute, I'll show it to you. You want to take a break?
No, I want to finish.
Okay, all right.
So the First National Bank, you said you want to make that into a banquet hall.
It's going to be called the National Hall, but I'm keeping that secret.
Okay, so you don't want us to air that part.
Nobody's going to listen to me anyway, but whenever you bring up mouses.
You brought up the mouses because that's what was on here.
Oh, there's mice.
Yeah.
And there might be some bugs.
That's in any building.
And they, you know what they did? They got sticks and they rubbed them together, and they started a fire. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. And so you said, so we can say that the First National Bank,
You can say
the
it.
National Hall, the Gilbert Building, we know that's Luxury Hotels. The other two, what do you plan for those two?
The Goodhue Building is going to be, when the waterway is built, one of the first high-rise apartments on the waterway.
And the other, the fourth?
Well, we haven't decided, but now that you bring it up, the old workforce building was repeatedly vandalized as well, and 2 floors were set on fire. We're going to have a press conference on that next week, and we're going to expose all this. We're going to take you in there and show you the underside of Beaumont and what they've done. So we haven't decided how we're going to save that building too.
Mr. Flanagan, you own the old workforce building as well?
Yes.
Okay. You know, that's also on this list,
It was-
categorized as eminent domain, eminent danger.
It was torched twice,
When?
a year and a half ago. And we've been trying to get the city to address that ever since. So stay tuned. We're going to take you there.
Okay. And you said that, again, going back to this list, siding, joints, the windows, doors, skylights are not maintained. What do you have to say when they say this, just looking on the outside?
I'd have to read this.
Okay.
You're throwing me something and the print is that small.
Yeah, I'm going to make it
Okay.
big for you. You can move around. Because when you say your building was torched, I mean, was it boarded up? And somebody
Yes.
broke
Our
into it?
building has always been secure. But this is a situation that you need to see it to believe it. Okay?
Yeah.
So I tell you what, if you were brave enough to come with me in the building, then you can ask me any question you want.
I'm willing to go in
Okay.
with you. I'm not afraid.
Okay? But you might be, because people are speechless when they go in.
Because of what the vandals have done to it, and like I said, torching it and everything, when you had it boarded up.
It's full of drug needles,
Oh, wow.
deplorable, horrible, horrible things, satanic symbols painted everywhere,
Yeah.
destruction, destitution, complete obliteration of property. Done right here in downtown, and the city would do nothing to protect us from it. They wouldn't get rid of them despite numerous requests. They wouldn't provide any kind of police protection no matter what we did. Bolting the doors, chaining the doors. They break all the windows out, boarding them up. In the end, they set the whole place on fire.
So they say, the city says you're in violation on these two buildings because you fix things, but the vandals continue to undo everything that you've done to make them secure.
Ebony, I think I've made it really clear about that. You know, the city is blaming us for what they're not doing. Okay? And if you think that a loose screw somewhere is justification to blame the property owner for not stopping 150 homeless people invasion that happened dozens and dozens and dozens of times. Okay? If you really want to blame the property owner for that, then you go right ahead. You and I just disagree.
Mr. Flanagan, I want to switch gears. You said something beautiful in there in your office. Why did you decide to buy all these buildings in downtown?
Because I grew up working on the docks at the port, and since I was young, I thought downtown Beaumont was beautiful, and I hated to see it decline. And I saw it happen in my hometown of Port Arthur. And as I traveled in my early business career, I really learned the lesson that cities that lose their downtown, their heart, they fade and they go away. And I didn't want that to happen here in Beaumont. So really, I've been on a mission all of my professional life to beautify Beaumont. Everything that I've done has been to beautify the city and advance it. And so some people say that I've renovated most of the renovations that I've done, and I appreciate that, but I don't feel any special sense of accomplishment because there's so much more work to be done. And it's been extremely frustrating in the last 20 years with negativity, the lack of vision, the lack of cooperation, and even the fighting and the opposition from our civic leaders and our city staff. And what I'm saying to you and to whoever watches this interview is that this is really important. We have a jewel here. We have something so beautiful we could make it so wonderful. We have a chance to change kind of our whole direction, the whole way that people look at us, the way we look at ourselves, and we need to quit fighting and work together and just follow the example of San Antonio, of New Braunfels, of Galveston, Texas, of Houston, of Dallas, of Fort Worth, on and on and on, Greensville, South Carolina, Oklahoma City, on and on and on. These are places that work together. We don't do that in Southeast Texas. We don't vision and we don't work together. Okay, so they want to pick on me because I'm a victim of crime. I'm big enough to be picked on, okay? But are we really going to let the whole downtown go up in flames? Okay, and blame the few property owners that are investing? I hope that that's not what people of Beaumont, I don't believe that's what common sense people, there's a lot of foolish people saying foolish things out there that they just don't know.
Mr. Tom, some people have said that they feel like you're holding some of these buildings hostage. Do you plan on selling any of them?
Okay, that's stupid. Okay, people who say that question, that's stupid. Do you really think that we would buy a building, pay taxes, pay insurance, and let it get repeatedly vandalized like we have to hold it hostage? I mean, did you graduate high school? Okay, that's ridiculous, people. Okay, if it was a thriving environment, they would have been developed by now. And by the way, you haven't asked me about the other 30 buildings that are not ours that are vacant downtown.
Tell me about them.
Okay?
Yeah.
But why aren't people talking about those owners? Do you think they're holding them hostage on purpose? Or maybe it has to do with the conditions in the city. So it make you think a little bit. Okay? So maybe we need a little self-evaluation as a community as to what we view ourselves as, what we hope to become, and who we elect.
So you're not planning to sell any of your buildings. You love your buildings. You want to keep them and develop them.
I've never, other than the AT&T building, I've never really sold a significant piece of property because I believe in the long term. Okay, but I have to tell you, it's very demoralizing to work with such uninspired people who don't want our community to get better, or those that think they have it made don't want anybody else to have anything nice, who don't understand that the city's heart lies right here. The culture, the business, the government, the river, who don't want our city to grow. It's very hard to deal with people like that. So yeah, would I do this forever in that environment? No. And I have to say, this makes me think, you know, that I can do work maybe where it would be valued. People I have visitors from all over the country come here and say, things that we've done are amazing. And they say, well, I bet the city appreciates you. I said, well, I have to tell them, reluctantly, that it's really not like that. Sometimes it feels like the city's at war with the people who are trying to make it better.
If I was an investor and I came to you today like I am right now, I offered you twice of what one of your buildings was worth, would you sell it to me?
First of all, that probably wouldn't happen under the conditions in Beaumont today, which are blighted. Okay, so you're giving me a hypothetical that sounds great, but the way the city is allowing things to fall apart, it doesn't reflect the market. It doesn't. So it's a totally hypothetical question. It's not realistic in this environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So no, it's not realistic in the market. It's blighted.
Well, you wouldn't do that knowing that you had no police protection and there would be no demand, and that if you got clients there, they'd have to have risks of being break-ins or being shot or seeing people urinate right in front of their door on a daily basis.
Do any of your buildings have cameras, burglar systems?
Yes.
How many of them?
All of our main buildings do.
But what about the vacant ones?
The interesting thing about the Gilbert Building, because of all the hurricane damage and the vandal damage, once the vandals started breaking in, we turned off the utilities because they were cutting the wires, and we didn't want live wires. So we actually turned off the electricity and gas so they didn't burn the place down.
Gotcha. So there was no security system in there,
No.
But it was electricity.
Yeah, there was no electricity. We turned it off because they were cutting wires and copper pipes.
So none of the vacant ones have cameras or burglar systems for you guys to monitor?
That's true.
Have you ever thought about, because the city won't do anything, because you continue to have people break into what you own and what you love,
Yes.
have you thought about doing
Yeah,
that?
and we told them that. We've met with them. We agreed to do it
When did y'all agree to do that?
a couple of months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is we asked them, when are you going to provide us some protection so we don't have to keep doing it?
But I mean, a surveillance system, a burglar system, that's something that just kind of sits and you just let it run.
Mhm.
I mean, what does it have to do if the city won't do anything? Say, okay, I'm going to spend the money that I'm already spending trying to renovate.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a legitimate question if you secure your building 100 times and they still keep breaking in, right? And we catch people. So we had a robbery in this building.
Oh.
And before he robbed, he broke into twice. The first 2 times the city didn't even arrest him. They let him go. We caught him. Okay, they said we couldn't detain him, but we caught him, so they let him go. And when he robbed an office on the 7th floor, they let him go.
Don't you think that cameras would deter people?
It didn't deter him. We have cameras in this building.
So you don't think it would help?
Okay, the window that was shot out at Century Tower, we have cameras on.
So you don't
Okay.
think it would help?
No, I think it would help, but does that mean you should blame me?
No. Well then, if you think it may help.
Wait.
Go ahead.
So, how did a security camera on this building stop 2 break-ins and a robbery? Or the 2 broken windows on the night of the fire? How did that help? How did that help? How did that? Obviously, it didn't prevent them from doing that, okay? And then when we called the police, they didn't even come out. And rightfully so, they were occupied with two fires that night, one on our property and one on the other.
Right.
I think we need to wrap this up.
Okay, I'm almost done with you. So you think you would help, but it's not going to deter them, you don't
I know what you're trying to say. There's something that we did that caused that break-in, that fire. No, I resent that.
No, sir.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
No, sir.
So
I have a few more questions. I'm sorry.
I need to go. I gave you a lot of time. But
Okay.
what questions are we asking now?
Yes, sir.
Because you know, that's really dirty pool. When you bring some paragraph that's really this big and this big and you say, what do you say about that? And you never showed it to me before. That's not cool.
Okay.
Ebony, that's not cool.
I should've
Okay?
printed
And
it out
if
for
you take that and try to, you can do what you want, okay? But you're going to lose my friendship if you do that.
Well, I don't want to do that.
If you take it, because you take some long document and say, what do you think of that? I talked to you for 30 minutes before we came in here. You could have said, I'm going to show you some documents. Okay? I'm not even going to give you a chance to read, and I'm going to give them in the smallest print that I possibly can in a dark room, and I'm going to ask you live on camera to comment, and then I'm going to pepper you with questions. It says right there, there's a mouse, and there's an ant, and there's a broken window, and there's that. What were you trying to say?
That's my apology.
Name one thing on that list that had anything to do with somebody breaking in and setting a fire.
A broken window. But I like, and I think it's important that I will add that you said that if I fix stuff, they keep doing it. It doesn't matter if I fix stuff.
But that was dirty pool.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I like you. That's dirty pool. If you do that to the wrong guy, he's not going to talk to you.
Well, I apologize. 'Cause I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. What else you want to ask? Because ask me first.
Yes, sir. The other questions I have for you. What building, before or after the fire, is your priority right now?
People don't care.
We care.
They don't care.
We do.
I do have priorities, and I do have dreams, and I still have hopes and dreams at 64 to do something with this Morphodite city, okay? But they don't care. So,
I'm here. I
yeah.
care.
If you get Mike Getz on there and say, look at this paragraph. We showed this to Mr. Flanagan last night. Here's him on camera getting upset, okay?
We've already talked to Mike. We don't care about Mike anymore. I'm here because I care about what you have to say about.
Yeah, but I think you drank the Kool-Aid.
I have not.
I think so.
No, sir. I want both sides, and that's why I'm here.
There isn't both sides. There's one side. The victims in downtown, the property owners, are not the guilty party. People whose house gets broken into, a lot of poor houses get broken into. You know that? In poor neighborhoods that don't have security systems. Okay? They get broken into and murdered. Is it their fault?
No, God, no.
That's what you're saying.
No, sir.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
No, sir. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
and
that.
that's what the stupid city's saying. So go right ahead. You'll be popular with them.
Mr. Flanagan, I would like to continue. We're almost done, please.
I've been here an hour.
Well, we had to talk in your office for 30 minutes. We're going an hour.
I thought maybe you could see my vision and my work because
do.
nobody ever showed it to you. Maybe it's not impressive to you.
It is
Okay,
impressive.
but that's almost 600,000. No, about 350,000 square feet of space that would be vacant, full of people, businesses with lives. Okay.
Yes, and that's what I was about to ask you. If you would just put your mic back on. It would take 5 minutes.
Okay,
please.
one more cheap shot, and I've never walked away from an interview, but I see where you're going with this, and I don't like it.
I don't want you to walk
I don't
away.
like the first one you did, and I saw you differently.
The first one? What was the first one I did?
There was a
But with Mike? Or with you?
yeah.
We didn't do what, so you talked with Kyle. He did the phone interview with you. That wasn't my story. What I talked with you about that night was just getting your statement. So.
Well, I saw something from Channel 12 that was pretty lousy. I don't
This
remember.
is my first time talking to you.
I don't remember.
On the record, so.
All right.
On our behalf, I apologize to you. Okay?
A lot of good that did. I'll see it.
Please, I want you to watch it
You know,
tonight.
if
Give me feedback.
you try that game with somebody else to show them some little bitty print and say, Mike Getz says that
I should have printed
that
it
your
out.
building had a rat in it. And,
You're right. I should have printed it out for you. So
okay, but what were you trying to accomplish?
I just
How,
wanted you to
in
see
your
what
in
the
your
city was
young
saying.
mind, okay, let's say there was a rat there, okay?
Sure.
Now, from what I understand, everything had been stole out of there. If homeless people break in and they get food from the homeless shelter and they bring it there, you're probably going to have rats.
It's an abandoned building. I expect
Okay.
it to be some sort
Yeah.
of something.
How does that reflect on me when I've gone to the city 100 times begging for protection? Why would I go and ask them? I don't have nothing to do. You think I really have nothing to do? Do you really think that?
No.
Come here tomorrow and see who's the first one in the parking lot.
You
And
probably
who's-
the last one to leave?
Okay? So if I'm in town, usually that's me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I just have nothing to do but just go meet with them.
No, you have better things to do.
Okay.
But you do it. You make time for it because the buildings are
Okay.
important to you.
If St. Anthony's School, our multicultural school, I told you what happened there, right?
No. I don't know what happened there.
You know we have a multicultural Catholic school downtown.
No, yes, I've seen
You know about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've been on the foundation board for 24 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Because, dirty little secret, the diocese doesn't pay a dime.
Well, you know, their principal, she's leaving.
She's an angel.
Sister Bernadette.
She's an angel. But you know who else left this year? Half our students.
Not good.
Do you know why?
Why?
And this is not the rich white kid Catholic school.
Yeah.
Okay?
Philly.
Well, no, it's multicultural. Half our kids, almost half, are on some sort of economic scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay? Did you know that Sister Bernadette, who's shorter than you,
Yes.
and she's an angel, had to go twice to the police and make them come and arrest this guy because he was sleeping in a car with automatic weapons.
Yes.
Okay? And
Alive.
everybody associated with that school knew about it, and the police would not respond. Okay? So the mothers took their kids out of school because of that incident. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, how much more you want? They're burning buildings. They're almost murdering children, and police won't act. Okay? Right? And if that school closes, it's going to break my heart. Okay? That's something that's really important to me. Okay? And what is it you want to ask me now?
Yes, sir. Mr. Flanagan, tell me how, again, is the Gilbert still your priority right now? What building is your priority right now, even before or after the fire?
All my buildings are priorities. We have improvement programs going on basically every one of our buildings right now. We're investing continuously. We're reopening Crockett Street, for example. We're re-tenanting it. We're talking to new tenants. We have a lot of exciting developments there. I'm working on the downtown committee to develop, as you know, a vibrant master plan, a path forward for our community. But the Bowie Street project, of which the Gilbert is an important part, is still on our drawing board. But it's not going to happen until the city wakes up and quits fighting property owners. We need a healthy environment here, and it has to start with city leadership. If they can't control crime and they won't even provide police protection, I don't think any of these buildings will ever be redeveloped.
My last question, I promise to wrap up. How do your buildings play a role into, or what role do your buildings play into the 2025 vision of the downtown Beaumont?
I think we own most of the beautiful historical landmarks. If history means anything to you, continuity, I think they're important that they stay alive and vibrant, and I think they will. I think there'll be new buildings downtown as well, and I hope there's growth.
What role will you play in digging this 5-foot waterway? Is Is it something that you're spearheading along with the city?
Well, as you know, I think we played a role in formulation of the plan. We required through our sale of the AT&T that the committee be formed. And the only reason for that was there's never been any sort of a dream or vision by any leader of our city. No planning process ever. So we just thought, let's look at what other cities do, and one thing in common, they all have a vision and a plan. We had no vision, no plan. We said, let's get one. So I didn't invent that. I thought it was a good idea. So I'm going to definitely be a participant there. I think that I have influenced it because the idea of a waterway, while it wasn't my idea, I just stole it from the Woodlands and from Oklahoma City. Both of those created billions of dollars of development and millions of visitors a year to vacant areas that had been previously vacant. So I think I have played a role, and I want to continue to play a role as long as the city wants to get better. If you believe in what Mike Getz wants, which is to be against everything and for nothing, then you'll get what happened to Mike's hometown of Port Arthur, stagnation. And don't get me wrong, I love Port Arthur. I still live there, and I hope for its rebirth. But so much of the bad things that happen are self-inflicted. So Beaumont needs to quit shooting itself in the foot and shooting at and complaining about people who are taking a chance and trying to do things. How about city, you start working with developers? How about you cut taxes, and how about you provide police protection and help work with the committee to form a vision and transform this city so we can keep our young people and we can get thousands of visitors, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe more than that, and change our image and create something really special.
Yeah. So when that waterway comes that the city wants to build, your Gilbert Building will be sitting, you'll have a, what building is going to be luxury apartments that you said will be on the waterway?
Well, the Gilbert would be one, and the Goodhue would be another, and there'll be others, and there'll be hotels.
Okay. And you said that when you sold the AT&T building, a stipulation in that was for them to build out Riverfront Park and
Yes.
revamp it?
Yes.
Okay. But not to build this waterway necessarily. This is something that has just come about over the last couple of months.
That there would be a downtown planning committee,
Okay, got it. And this is what they came up with.
and this is what we came up with.
Are you a part of that committee?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I was the one that required it.
gotcha.
They didn't do it willingly. They didn't want to. The
Makes
city doesn't value entrepreneurs, risk takers,
Yeah.
investors, builders. They don't value that. They think they should do it. Well, I just say cities are not supposed to be the developers. Okay? You've got people in the community that they don't pay me to be on the committee, and we have a lot of talented people on the committee. They're not paid. Why would you want business people or talented people to be on a committee and not listen to their opinions? So that's the big question before us right now. Is the city even going to listen to the people that serve on the committee?
Okay. If you were to sell any of your other buildings, do you have stipulations for those?
Well, I don't think about that.
Okay. Because you don't plan to sell.
I just don't think about it yet. But I will say this, if things don't improve soon, my opinion may change about that.
Okay. That's pretty strong, you know. That's your opinion. And
Yeah.
I think you're right in saying that.
Yeah.
Based on what you've seen and what you've experienced.
Okay.
Mr. Tom, thank you so much again. I know I hit you with some tough questions, and I do apologize.
You threw some low blows.
Yes, I'm sorry for showing you that
Yeah.
out of context